Welcome back to the long roundup of the films that I watched last year. And we're in February. Let's begin. The first one I saw was Hereditary. It's by Ari Aster and it's a horror film with a lot of supernatural elements. It's really crazy, but despite the visual artistry in the movie, I didn't really resonate with the film. It didn't have a big impact on me. When it comes Zero, this is a really weird film. It's almost trying to be a little bit of a Forrest Gump with crazy elements added in, and none of it really makes any sense. There's no logical progression. It feels like you're watching three parodies all rolled into one. It has decent music, but I don't think it's a really entertaining film. Next was Shubhamangal Savadhan. It has Bhumi Pednekar and Ayushmann Khurrana. He plays a character who is dealing with infertility, and it's a it's a good film. The characters are really nice. The acting is really good, especially Bhumi Pednekar. She's really at the top of her game, and yeah, it's a good movie. The next was Dum Laga Ke Haisha, which has the same actors as before, Bhumi Pednekar and Ayushmann Khurrana, and it has some problematic um character traits sometimes, but um, I mean it feels all right. It doesn't feel very impactful, but it's quite a good movie. The next was Guru Dutt's Pyasa, and it is a masterpiece to say the least. It's an incredible film about a poet, about an artist and his struggles dealing with society, and it has amazing music. It has some really great performances, especially by Guru Dutt, and it's just a movie that you really have to watch. Next, I watched Everybody Wants Some. It's a film from Richard Linklater. He's one of my favorite filmmakers, though he's not the most consistently good filmmakers. He's made some pretty boring films, like especially more recently. Everybody Wants Some came in 2016, and it's decent, but it feels just like a rehash of Dazed and Confused, which was the film that propelled him into glory. It falls in that genre of American Graffiti and Dazed and Confused. It feels almost indistinguishable from the other two, and yeah. The next I saw Once Upon a Time in the West. It's a film from Sergio Leone. It's an iconic film of the Western genre. It has really strong performances. It has a really good story. And if you do not know, the Indian film Sholay is, let's say, inspired by Once Upon a Time in the West. But yeah, I mean, it's a good film. It's a really entertaining watch. It's a long film, but it's really something that you must experience. Next, I watched Raju Hirani's Three Idiots. It's a film that I almost knew by heart till a few years ago, and it has been quite entertaining. It's still quite entertaining, but I feel like it has lost. It doesn't have the same impact that it had in 2009. Next, I watched Easy Rider. It's a film by Dennis Hopper, and it's a weird film. It's something that just happens. There's not much of a plot going. It's just these two guys just easy riding through America. It has good cinematography. It has really good visuals. I'm sorry for the noise. It has good visuals. It has great music. Some of the most iconic, road trip songs of all time. But not a lot of plot. Next, I watched Mirai from Mamoru Hosoda. It's a Japanese animated film, and it's a really interesting film to watch. There's a lot of story arcs that go weave throughout the film, and it's really well done. It's visually beautiful. There's this scene that takes place in a railway station, and it's absolutely mind-boggling how beautiful it looks. And just to imagine how much time it would have taken the artists to animate that. Next, I watched Sorry to Bother You. It's a really, really, really unique, interesting story. It's really well told. You have these really funny characters. You have a premise that is just bonkers, but it works so well. Sorry to Bother You is really not a bother to watch. I can watch it again and again and again. It's really good. Next, I watched Ivan's Childhood. It's made by Andrei Tarkovsky. It's a good film. It's very difficult to watch. Um, and I am a huge fan of Tarkovsky more recently, and it has really, really good cinematic storytelling, really good visual storytelling. Next, I watched Mirch Masala. It's a film by Ketan Mehta. It's from the 1980s, and it's about feudal laws, and it's about this woman who is put uh, in a weird confined situation, but it's about her and her friends rise through that kind of patriarchal structure. It's a really empowering film. One of my favorite actresses, Smita Patel, is in the lead, and she does an amazing job. The most striking part of the film for me, though, was the cinematography. I am not entirely sure. I couldn't find enough information on what film stock they used or what cameras they used, but the colors just pop. It has this amazing, vibrant, deep red, which makes sense because the film is called Mirch Masala. It's all about these women who grind red chilies into powder, and you see these mounds of chili powder, and it looks beautiful. I don't think I've seen that kind of a deep red, that kind of a color ever on a film, on a celluloid film. But it's really incredible. It's a movie that you must watch, at least for the visuals. Next, I watched Punchdrunk Love from 2002. It's a film by Paul Thomas Anderson, and it stars Adam Sandler in a dramatic role. And it feels weird, and it's not entirely drama. There is a lot of comedy in there, but it's so well told, and it's a, I don't know how to describe the film, but it's really impactful. It's really memorable, and I don't think I've seen Adam Sandler in that good a performance before. I'm hearing good things about Uncut Gems, and I haven't been able to watch that yet. And I've also heard great things about the Meyerowitz stories. I haven't watched that either. That's on Netflix. I'll try to watch it soon. But this movie is really good. Next was Gully Boy, made by Zoya Akhtar, and she has been one of the most consistent filmmakers in terms of making films that are well told, but that are also really appealing for the masses. So I don't know how she does it, but she's found the perfect balance between storytelling and between mass appeal, and she's done it really well. I was not a huge fan of Dil Dhadakne though, her movie before this, but I'm a huge fan of Luck by Chance, and even Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara to a certain extent. And Gully Boy is, I think, her second best film. It's really good. It has a really impactful class struggle angle to it. It's a hip hop film. The inspiration from 8 Mile is apparent. I guess it's not completely a conscious copy, but because of the subject matter being so similar, it might have those similarities. The film itself is really well done, and it actually tells the story quite compellingly. The characters are really well created, especially Safina's character, who is really layered, and the story is quite nice. The music is incredible. There are 18 tracks in this film, and it never feels like you're just having one song to the other song to the other song. It's spaced out well. All of the music is incredible. They've got a huge bank of artists to do their music for them, and it shows. It's a really well done film. Next, I watched Free Solo. It's a documentary about a free solo climber. So he basically goes rock climbing on these extremely steep hills, extremely steep inclines, and he climbs them without ropes, without any harnesses or anything. It's just him, his hands, and his feet holding on to those really narrow crevices and cracks, and it's a really you're kept on the edge of your seat the entire time. But you also see his struggle, his personal struggles, his you know you see his life, and it's a really nice biographical documentary about this really inspiring athlete. Next, I watched Goodfellas. It's a Martin Scorsese classic. It's probably his best film. I know there's a few other films that he's made that are really really good, but I feel like Goodfellas is probably one of my favorites. It has some of the most iconic dialogues. It has some of the most memorable scenes. I don't think I need to say a lot more about it because the movie just speaks for itself. Next, I watched a Marathi film, Anandi Gopal. I wasn't really looking forward to watching it, but I watched it in the theater and it seemed like a decent film. Some of the story moments didn't feel like they had a lot of impact, or they didn't completely go with the main idea of the film. The idea being Anandi Gopal was one of the first Indian women to become a doctor. But the story itself focuses far too much on her home life and just about the kind of patriarchal, repressive system that we had back in the day. We still do in some senses, but it's not as impactful as I feel like it could have been. Next, I went on a sort of a binge watching Zoya Akhtar's films. I watched Dil Dhadakne Do. It has good music, it has decent actors, it has some memorable lines, uh, but all in all, it's probably my least favorite Zoya Akhtar film. The next was Luck by Chance, going from my least favorite to my favorite Zoya Akhtar film, Luck by Chance. It's right here, and it's really incredible. It's a unique insight into the film industry in India. And now that I'm starting to see a little bit of the industry, and I'm sort of on the boundary of getting into the industry quite soon, it feels like a nice reminder to have watching that film, seeing the struggles, the insidiousness that happens behind the curtains, and also a lot of the actors are really good. I feel like Konkana Sen Sharma, who's one of my favorite actresses actually in India, and Farhan Akhtar also is. I mean, they're really good in this film. You have a really compelling story to tell. There are some beats which are very, very cheesy, some characters that feel like they have not a lot of depth, but that may just be because the people that the character was inspired by may not be that deep. Anyway, my main point is that the film is really good, and if you are even a little bit interested in the films from India, especially, or just films in general, Luck by Chance is a movie that you absolutely have to watch right now. Next, I rewatched Gully Boy. I felt like there were a lot of things in the movie that were worth a second watch. So I went ahead with my friends and I watched it again, and I really enjoyed the music. I still listen to its soundtrack just on a loop, and it has some of the best cinematography in a Hindi film from last year. And there are some shots which are just absolutely beautiful. There's this one shot, I'll try to put it in the video, where Murad is sitting in a fancy black car, and there's lights strung above him. My hats off to the cinematographer. Next, I watched Mystic River. It's a film by Clint Eastwood. It has some really good performers giving great performances. I feel like it's a lot of character building that they've done really well. It's also a little morbid, it's a little dark. If you haven't seen it and if you feel like going on a roller coaster and seeing this emotional story, it's a good movie. Next, I watched The Cobbler. After seeing Adam Sandler give his best performance in Punchdrunk Love, I saw The Cobbler. Adam Sandler is a really good actor, but I feel like some of his best work is in the more dramatic, the more serious roles. He is good as the outlandish, crazy, wacky character. And the Cobbler is sort of a middle road, and I don't think it does that too well. Next, I watched Bombay Velvet. It was the only Anurag Kashyap film till then that I hadn't seen. So I watched it, and it's not his best, but it's not as bad as some people might say. It's a fairly decent film. It has good music. It has good performances. The setting is a little weird, and sometimes the tone is a little jarring. So those were the 24 films that I watched in February of 2019. I'll see you in the next one.